The observation deck of the Galactic Combat Institute fell into an eerie silence as Commander Vexther's mandibles clicked in disbelief. For 3 cycles, the galaxy's most elite warriors had gathered to witness what they assumed would be a spectacle of primitive fumbling. Instead, they watched 2 humans, Elsa and Daniel, redefine everything they knew about combat training. Elsa moved through the gravitational chamber with fluid precision, her blonde hair pulled back in a tight braid that whipped like a golden serpent as she executed a sequence that defied the station's 12 times Earth gravity. Daniel circled her, his dark eyes calculating trajectories that hadn't yet manifested, his body coiled like a spring wound too tight. "Impossible," whispered Kathan, the Craxian champion whose exoskeleton bore the scars of 300 victories. His compound eyes tracked every microsecond of their movement. "They're operating at 93% efficiency under 12G. Our finest warriors require cybernetic enhancement to achieve 70%. The truth was more disturbing than impressive. Humans weren't stronger than the galaxy's apex predators. The Craxians could shatter starship hulls with their bare claws. The Velkari possessed reaction times measured in nanoseconds. The crystalline Jardok could process combat scenarios across 17 dimensions simultaneously. Yet here were 2 unaugmented humans, moving through combat sequences that made the assembled warriors question their own capabilities. Elsa struck first, her fist accelerating through the dense atmosphere with a snap that resonated through the reinforced observation glass. Daniel didn't block. He couldn't, not at that speed. Instead, he moved before she completed her neural firing sequence, his body already transitioning to a position that wouldn't exist for another 0.2 seconds. "He's predicting her muscle tension patterns," observed General Thixra, the strategic mind behind the Andromeda Coalition's military doctrine. Her crystalline form pulsed with amber calculation light. "But that requires processing her entire kinetic chain, factoring in gravitational distortion, atmospheric density, and her psychological state. The computational power needed." "They're not computing," interrupted Dr. Zalith, the Institute's xenobiologist. His tentacles writhed with nervous energy. "They're feeling it. Humans call it intuition. It's a neurological cascade that bypasses conscious thought entirely." The observation deck's silence deepened. Intuition wasn't real. It was a myth perpetuated by pre-spacefaring civilizations to explain lucky guesses. Combat was mathematics, physics, chemistry. It was predictable, quantifiable, optimizable. Yet Elsa and Daniel fought like they were reading each other's minds, like they shared a quantum entanglement that transcended conventional neural processing. Daniel pivoted, his heel gouging a crater in the reinforced deck plating. The movement generated enough kinetic force to liquefy bone marrow in most species. He channeled that energy through his core, up through his shoulder, and released it in a strike that blurred through the visible spectrum. Elsa caught his wrist, actually caught it, and used his own momentum to redirect him into a wall that cracked under the impact. The wall was designed to withstand antimatter detonations. "Their bone density," Kathan muttered, accessing his neural implant to run real-time scans. "It's within normal human parameters. No exotic matter, no molecular restructuring, no gravity field manipulation. How are they not pulverized?" Elsa helped Daniel to his feet, and for a moment the warriors watching saw something that made their combat doctrine feel hollow. Daniel grinned, a uniquely human expression that conveyed challenge, respect, and joy simultaneously. Elsa returned it and they reset their positions. "Again," Elsa said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber despite the atmospheric density. "But this time, don't hold back." "Don't hold back." The phrase echoed through the observation deck's translation matrices, and several warriors unconsciously stepped backward. They had been holding back. That level of combat had been restrained. What happened next would be analyzed in military academies across 17 sectors for the next century. Elsa and Daniel stopped fighting like they were separate entities. their movements synchronized into a pattern that resembled a single organism with multiple bodies. When Elsa struck high, Daniel swept low, not in response to her movement, but as part of the same impulse. When Daniel created an opening, Elsa filled it before it fully formed. The observation deck's sensors registered something impossible. Their heart rates had synchronized. Their neural patterns showed correlation coefficients that suggested quantum entanglement. Their breathing, their micro-expressions, even their sweat rates moved in perfect harmony. "Pair bonding," Dr. Zalith whispered, his scientific composure cracking. "Humans form neural connections through prolonged social interaction. They're not two fighters, they're a distributed combat system. Each one is simultaneously processor and weapon, both student and teacher." Commander Vexther's translator struggled with the next phrase. "They're making each other stronger." The concept seemed absurd. Combat training was about individual optimization. You identified weaknesses, corrected them, and moved closer to theoretical perfection. But Elsa and Daniel weren't correcting weaknesses. They were creating new strengths that emerged from their interaction. Daniel's reckless aggression was tempered by Elsa's tactical patience. Elsa's tendency toward overanalysis was bypassed by Daniel's intuitive responses. Together, they exceeded the sum of their individual capabilities. The session ended when the gravitational chamber's safety protocols automatically engaged, detecting structural integrity falling below acceptable thresholds. Elsa and Daniel stood in the center of the destroyed chamber, breathing hard but fundamentally unharmed, surrounded by craters and scorched deck plating. The silence in the observation deck stretched until General Thixra spoke, her voice carrying the weight of civilizations. "We've been training warriors incorrectly for 10,000 years." Kathan's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter or despair. "The humans call it training partners. We call it force multiplication. They've weaponized friendship." As Elsa and Daniel exited the chamber, arguing cheerfully about whose technique had caused more structural damage, the galaxy's strongest fighters remained silent, watching two unaugmented humans walk away from a training session that would have killed anyone else. They weren't silent from shock or fear, but from the uncomfortable realization that strength wasn't just about individual power. The humans had brought something to the galaxy that couldn't be measured in newtons or calculated in combat matrices. The exponential power of beings who made each other better simply by existing together. And that, more than any weapon or augmentation, made them the most dangerous species the cosmos had ever encountered. Commander Vexther initiated the recall sequence. Every warrior in the observation deck needed to return to their home worlds immediately, not to report a threat, but to fundamentally rethink everything they thought they knew about combat, training, and the terrifying potential of cooperation. The humans weren't just strong, they were strong together, and the galaxy would never be the same.